We're here on Daf Samach Beis, and we said Af Hayom Lelo Imo, and we're trying to understand why Moshe Rabbeinu, on his own initiative, he added a third day of Prisha before Matan Torah, and V'laylo Deha Idna Nofikle. So we see, says Moshe Rabbeinu, that since HaKadosh Baruch Hu said Hayom Umachar, then the implication is that Hayom should be like Machar, and just like Machar is a full 24-hour period, so Hayom should be a 24-hour period, which is impossible because half the day went by. So Moshe Rabbeinu had to make up the mashlim for that first day, and he added another day. And what that means is that we would start with a Thursday, but again, Thursday was not a full day, so you have start with Wednesday, which was not a full day. So you have Thursday and Friday, and you have to make up for the Wednesday that was incomplete because it was missing the nighttime, and therefore he added Shabbos. So that would mean that Thursday, Friday, and Shabbos, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu would be Mashra Shechina on Shabbos, and that would be a fulfillment of the mandate of Hayuna Chonim L'Shloshis Yom. Eskima Daito L'Das HaMakom, and Moshe Rabbeinu was able to come up with the context of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and that is Lo Sharia Shechina Ad Shabbos, that the Shechina would not be Shora on Har Sinai until Shabbos, which would be the third day of Prisha. And this is all explained in the Sugya Shabbos on Daf Pei Vav. Prisha started on Wednesday. It wasn't a chole, it wasn't a full day because they got the tzibui during the day, so they're missing the night. So therefore, Wednesday was not a complete day, but Thursday and Friday were complete days of Prisha. And then Shabbos to make up for that which was missing on Wednesday. And that's when the Shechina would Shora and the Torah was given. That was the third day of Prisha that Moshe had. Tanya, we learned in the Brayso. Rabbi Nosson Omer has a different version, a different transmission of Beit Shammai, and that is Beit Shammai Omrim, Bei Zecharim, Ushtei Nekevos. It's not enough to have two male children, you have to have two female children, according to this particular version of Beit Shammai. Beisil Omrim, Zachar Nekev. Omar Rav Huna. My time with Rabbi Nosson, I'll leave it at Beit Shammai. Why? Does Rabbi Nosson's version require not only two zchar but also two nekevos? It says regarding Cain and Hevel, "Vatosef lo ledes es achiv es Hevel," and the word "es," which appears twice in this pasuk, is a reboot, and it comes to tell you that each one of the two sons of Chava was born with a twin girl. Hevel ve'achosa, Cain ve'achosa. Uksiv, and the pasuk says that after Cain killed Hevel, Chava had another child, and we'll see that that child was meant to make up and replace Hevel, and Vatikra Shmo Shes, Ki Shosli Elokim, Zera Acher Tachas Hevel, Ki Arago Kayin. So there had to be a Shloma to make up for Hevel, who is gone now, and that was Shes. So Beit Shammai understood that the mitzvah period of Rivya would only be fulfilled after the two Zecharim, which now at this point is Cain and Shes, Ushtei Nekevos, and the two twin sisters of Cain and Hevel. Rabbanan, Beisila, why aren't they impressed by this limud? And the answer is that Chava Odoye Chudakomodus. It's not like Chava was establishing how and when she would fulfill the mitzvah period of Rivya. And only when Cain was replaced by Shes. No. She's just expressing her gratitude to Hashem that he granted her a son to, so to speak, replace Hevel, who was victim. Tanya Iduk, we have another price. Rabbi Nassan Omer, Beit Shammai Omrim, Zachar Nekev. According to this version, Beit Shammai, for the mitzvah period, require a minimum of one male child and one female child. Beis Hillel Omrim, Beis Hillel say that the mitzvah is fulfilled, O Zachar, O Nekev, one child, either male or female. And now we have to ask the opposite question, because Beis Hillel is really unusual. Beis Shammai understand that if we're going to learn from Briat Shalom, God created male and female. But according to Rabbi Nassan's version here, the Ika Diamri of Beis Hillel wants one child. Amar Rav, my time with Rabbi Nassan, I'll leave it to Beis Hillel. Shenemar lo sov ra'al l'sheves yitzar. The whole purpose of period riv is to make sure that the earth is not desolate. It's miyusha. There are human beings to inhabit the earth. V'ha ovid le'sheves. And to fulfill that sheves and guarantee that the world will not be completely desolate, it's enough that you bring one child into the world. Itmar, we learned the following. Hayalo banim bioso of the kochav. As a guy, he had children. But this guy now, he became a Jew. So if he converts now to Judaism, can he claim that the children that he had as a guy before his gerus were facilitators for him to fulfill his mitzvah period? And Rabbi Yochanan says, indeed, yes. Rabbi Yochanan Amar, Kiyeh period. He already fulfilled the mitzvah period with the children that he had, the Giyusa, while he was a guy. So that would mean that a guy is related to his children, his biological children. But the Chiddush of Yochanan is that applies even after Gerus. But Reish Lakish Amar, no, Loki, he's no longer connected to his children that he had as a guy. Loki in period of Rivya. And the Gemara explains, Rabbi Yochanan Amar Ki in period of Rivya Daha Havile, he had children when he was a guy. Reish Lakish Amar Loki in period of Rivya. Because Katan Shenolad, Geshen is guy, Katan Shenolad. It's like a brand new person. He's not related to his children that he begat, that he had when he was a guy. The Azlu Tamayu. We have another machlokus which is almost identical to this one, at least conceptually. That is Itmar. The Itmar we learned in the basement. Hayulo Bonim Bioso Ove Kochav Nizgayer. Rabbi Yochanan Ein Lo B'char LeNachla Do Ahavi LeReishis Ono. According to Rabbi Yochanan, there's no B'char LeNachla to get Pishnayim, because those children that he had as goyim are not related to him. No, just the opposite. That's Reish Lakish. I'm sorry. According to Rabbi Yochanan, to Havi LeReishis Ono. Now, while he was a guy, he had a ben who was a Bechar, firstborn, Reishis Ono. And it's impossible for another ben to be born afterwards, even after his gerus, and consider that second son to be a ger, to be Bechar. Reish Lakish Amar Yesh Lo Bechar LeNachla. Why? Because Gershon is Kai can cut Shinoladam. The fact that biologically the Goyish son that he had firstborn before his gerus was considered a Bechar, that has no bearing, because once he undergoes gerus, that completely destroys. Once he undergoes gerus, that completely uproots his relationship to the children that he had b'giyutza. That's Reish Lakish. Also, therefore, there's no bechar from before his gerus. Now the Gemara goes off into a discussion as to why we need a double machlokes Rabbi Yochanan and Reish Lakish. Couldn't we derive one from the other? We have the machlokas between Rabbi Yochanan and Reish Lakish regarding period for Rivia, and then we have machlokas Reish Lakish Rabbi Yochanan regarding Bechor, Utzricha. We need both of them. Diashmeina by Hikamaisa, if all we had was the first din, whether he was Makayim period for Rivia with children that were born to him when he was a guy, then we would have said that he, in that case, Kavah Rabbi Yochanan, to make Koranami b'nei period for Rivia. Why did Rabbi Yochanan rule that he had already fulfilled his period for Rivia based on the children he had begiu? So when he was a guy, that's because even as a guy, what we call b'nei Noach, one's children are considered b'nei period for Rivia. So this is an amazing breakthrough that children that you had as a guy and now you're a ger, those children are a fulfillment of period for Rivia because Hashem addresses Noach and he says to Noach, Vayomalem Puravu. So even before the gerus, there is some sort of a kiyum, if you want to call it, of period for Rivia because Puravu is addressed to Bnei Noach. Aval in Yanachla, when it comes to Nachla, the La Bnei Nachla Ninu. The Goyim don't even have a concept of Bechor L'Nach. They have a concept of period for Rivia, but not Bechor L'Nach. Because the Gemara establishes a Kiddushin on Daf Yud Zayin and Beis, Goy Yorish es Oviv Dvar Torah, but Ein Lahem Din Nachla. So Goyim don't have a Din Bechor. So therefore, now, Rabbi Yochanan, based on this logic of the Labnei Nachlin, would agree to Reish Lakish that after his gerus, the guy gets pishnayim. Why is that? Rabbi Yochanan logically would certainly accept Reish Lakish here that if there was no din of Bechor and the din of Nachla don't even apply to Goyim in terms of, let's say, Bas, she's equal to a Ben. I mean, there's no Pishnayim in the case of Bechor. So now, there's no reason why the so-called Bechor that was born to Begiuso should now have rights to Pishnayim. I mean, as Bechor, he had no dinim whatsoever because he's a guy. So here, Rabbi Yochanan L'chorah should accept Reish Lakish. It's only the first born to him after his gerus. He would be a Bechor. Therefore, Rabbi Yochanan had to add the case of Bechor. And if we only had this machlokas in the din of Bechor, and then Bechor kam Reish Lakish, Aval Bahi, Ema Module, Reish Lakish, Rabbi Yochanan Tzrich. As far as Bechor is concerned, Reish Lakish says his din that the Goyim have no din of Bechor, and therefore it's not that the carryover after his game that he would be a Bechor. But in the case of Kiyum Mitzvah's period of Rivia, we might suggest that Reish Lakish admits, concedes to Rabbi Yochanan that he can be Mekayim the Mitzvah, even Bebanim, Shahayolo Begiyusa, the children that he had when he was a god. Because they have some shaykhis to period of Rivia. They don't have shaykhis to Nachla and Bechor, but they do have shaykhis to divvy up their property. I'm sorry, not to divvy up their property, because that's more in the realm of Bechor, but to fulfill the mitzvah period of Rivu. Therefore I need both. Ace Rabbi Yochanan Reish Lakish, I'm going to prove to you that there is a concept of ben, meaning of yuchsin, even by goyim, and that would give them a fulfillment of period of Rivu. Because the pasuk says in Malachim Beis, after Chizkiyahu HaMelech gets healthy from his machla, it says, "Ba'isahi shalach berodech beladon ben beladon melech Bavel sfarim umincha el Chizkiyahu ki shema ki chala Chizkiyahu." The pasuk indicates clearly that goyim and their nikra al sheba will say it. So what's Reish Lakish going to say about these psukim that indicate that a person has children who are related to him legally according to the Jewish law, even though they're goyim? Amalei the yosan of the kochavim islu chayis kolzman they were goyim. There is yichus, and you could say that this one is the son of this one. But Kevon Chigershin's guy can cut no. Is therefore you can't prove anything from the fact that they have yichus as goyim, because that was up until the point of gerus. Omar Rava Kolmo the eved she'ein lo chayis. Even Rabbi Yochanan would agree. I'm sorry. Even the Rabbi Yochanan who holds that a gershon is gaya, he as a goy already before his gerus was mekayim the mitzvah period already, but not in the case of an eved. An eved doesn't have yuchs. Tichsiv, as it says by Avraham Avinu, very famous Chazal, Shulachem po imachamor, on his way to the Akedah, Amadom el chamor. So there's no yichus to his father because he's an Eved. We're talking about Eliezer Eved. Basically, where it's a kasha from Pasuk Shmuel, L'tziva chamisha sarbanim v'esrim avadim. So even though Tzivo himself was an Eved Knani, who was owned by Mephibosheth, nevertheless the Navi cried out, it's even though Tziva was an Eved Knani, Mephibosheth, the Navi says that he had children, Bonim. Achar Aviem, or Achar Bar Yaakov, Kipar ben Baka. The Bonim that the Navi was referring to are not really Bonim exactly, that are Miyuchas Achar Aviem. It's like, for example, you have he says here, Kimoshesh lebakar banim shemitziuso noldu mimenu kach gam b'nei eved nikroim banim achmas havetzius ach enom misyachs achar aviv. There's no yichus between an eved and his family, his father. So the Gemara has to see hachi hasam nami. there too in the pasuk Baradon that the Gemara quoted before, maybe we should say that he's the son only biological sense, like Amadom el Chamor, like a Ben Bakar. Or it says Shani Chasav, that pasuk is different. Yachasinu Bishmayo Bishma de Avuan. So again, we're trying to figure out, why did Reish Lakish feel compelled to answer that B'giyusam Yeshlam Yichus Achavir? Why not just say it's a case of Par Ben Bakar, that the pasuk is only indicating, the physical reality of having, has nothing to do with the legal Yichus. So the verse says, in answer to this question, Shani Hasam Yachsinu Bishmayo Ubishma Davuan, that the pasuk mentions the name of the guy, Baradoch Baladon, and also the name of his father, Ben Baladon. So you see clearly that they called Banim to be Misyaches Acharaviyah. It's not just Par Ben Bakar, it's not just describing some sort of reality. But here in the pasuk by Tziva Lo Mefarish, the Navi doesn't mention specifically the names of the Banim. And there you could always say it's only Par Ben Bakar. Ibai Seima, the Gemara offers another teretz that the Goyim Yachsinu Beduchta Achriti, he was miyaches them elsewhere, Ba'avuan Uba'aba Davuan, their father and Aviavim, the grandfather. And in such a case, the Yichus is going back so many generations. It's impossible to say that it's just Par Ben Bakar. It's like, an animal that has an offspring. A par doesn't have any yachas to its avi, aviv, to its zayda. We don't have zaydas amongst the animals. It's siv. It says in the Poskim Malachim Aleph, Vayikach Osa Eskola Kesev Azov Hanosarim V'Otzros Beis Hashem Otzros Beis Hamelech Vayitnei B'Yad Avadav Vayishlachem Hamelech Asa El Ben Hadar Ben Tavrima Ben Chizaya Melech Aram Hayoshev Damesek Lema. So we don't find anything like that in Avodim. The Avodim are yuchas to their father and to their grandfather. Therefore, with regard to Avodim, we can give the answer that it's only Par Ben Bakar, but not with regard to a regular free agent. Itmar Hoylo Umesu. Can a person fulfill period Verivia if his children ever died? Rav Huna Amar, he ain't period Verivia. Once the children are born, that's it. He automatically fulfills his mitzvah. Rabbi Yochanan Amar Loki. He doesn't have any children. They never die. Rav Huna Amar Kiye, why? Mishum de Ravasi, because the principle of Ravasi, the Ravasi, Ein Ben David Ba, Ad She Yichlu, Kol V'Shom Shebaguf. Okay, we'll see what the word guf means. But in any event, Ad Shivoldu Kol Neshamos Shenotzru B'Sheishis Yimei Breishis Nosam HaKadosh Baruch Hu B'Otzar Neshama Sheshmo Guf. So guf is synonymous with a certain storehouse, a storage house, so to speak, in a figurative sense, not physically, up in Shamayim, that was created during Sheish Yimei Breishis, and that's where all the neshamas that will in the future come down to this world in the form of a body. That's where they're hidden away. They're stored in a guf. And only when all the neshamas that were created at the time of Sheish Yimei Breishis that are now stored in the guf, only when they will all come down into this world, then Mashiach will come. Shenemar, Oskin Yeshayahu Anovi, Ki Ruach Milefonai Yato, for neshamas haniyasisu. So Ruach Milefanai refers to the neshamos that are lefanai, that are in front of, in the presence of the Almighty. And Gazarti, you know, Lodin Kodim. I already made a decree, they will be born. Yaatov means ikuv. There's an ikuv that's preventing the geula from realizing itself. So Yaatov is a lush ikuv, and you'll see this in Bereshis Perek Lamed, ha'atufim le'lavan, meaning anoladim mi'ucha. So this pasuk is talking about the beginning of the geula, and once the neshamas were taken from the Otza up in Shamayim, and they were brought down to this world, that's a kiyum of mitzvahs peri v'rivya. Rabbi Yochanan Amar lo kiyum peri v'rivya, la sheves yitzar b'inav aleka. The purpose and the goal, the agenda of peri v'rivya is to populate the world, and we don't have that because they died now. Basically, the Gemara asks Kasha, and here we turn to Samach Beis, Amud Beis. It says in the Bryce of Bnei Bonim, Harein Kibonim. And we assume now that if he lost one of his children, let's say a Zachar and a Keva, then if that Zachar, for example, that Ben that died, has children, so we could be mitzaref if those children, let's say, for example, those children through his son will now link up to his daughter who's still alive. Or if his daughter died and she left a Ben or a Bas, that grandchild will be mitzaref together with the brother of her mother, and it will pater up the grandfather from Kiyum Peri V'Rivya. So we see that if he only has a son or a daughter that died, he can pater up his Kiyum Peri V'Rivya. If he doesn't have a son, lo nifta. So this is the answer of Huna. Rav Huna says that you don't need Bnei Bonim Harein Kibonim to replace the second generation. Even if the second generation, Nebuch, was wiped out, both he and she, there still is a Kiyum Peri V'Rivya. And the Gemara says, Kitanya Hahi Lahashlim. What the price it means by Bonim, Bnei Bonim Harein Kibonim, is that it not that if his Ben or Bas died, that then he's not Yotze the mitzvah Peri V'Rivya. But rather in a scenario where the grandfather L'chatchila had only one Ben, didn't have a Ben and a Bas. And that Ben got married and had a Bas. And the question is, can the grandfather be Yotze now? Because he has a Ben and he has a Bas, but the Bas is not his Bas, it's his son's Bas, it's his granddaughter. And that's what the Brisa says, that the Saba could fulfill and be Yotze his mitzvah Peri V'Rivya in such a case, because Bnei Bonim Harein Kibonim. It's like he was mashlis his chiyuv through his son because his son had a daughter. But in a case where he had a son and a daughter and they both died, then according to Rav Huna, he would fulfill his mitzvah Peri V'Rivya even if they left no bonim whatsoever, because he had both a boy and a girl. The case that the Bryce is addressing, Bnei Bonim Harein Kibonim, he only had a boy, he didn't have a girl. And therefore, it's absolutely necessary to be mashlim that girl through his granddaughter, through his son. But I only need this hashlama to activate Bnei Bonim Harein Kibonim because he didn't have two children. But if he had two children, Rav Huna would say even if they died without any children at all, he was Yotze in the mitzvah.